guys! So over the weekend I went to go and see a 1960s era horror movie. Now I kind of have to admit the horror genre and I, aren't exactly besties. But as I was thinking back as to why, I realized, well, of course, Angela, you grew up as a magician. Now, okay, I know that takes a little bit of explaining, but hold on to your top hats for this one. My parents were magicians, and of course I grew up as a magician and joined their act when I was 6. But before I joined their act, I still spent a lot of time around the magic shops as my parents were purchasing different magic tricks. Well, my parents didn't just perform magic shows, but they also had a lot of friends who were magicians as well. And some of their magician friends were really, really old. I mean, they were so old that you would have thought that they were there when vaudeville was invented. I mean, we're talking decrepit. But those magicians were actually quite sweet. However, some of my parents' friends who were magicians, oh wow, I mean, creepy. Doesn't even begin to describe their personalities. I mean, they were like rejects from a Vincent Price film, that kind of creepy. And what's even worse is that some of them were actually children's magicians. I mean, if you were to picture in your mind Boris Karloff running a home for children, it was kind of like that, something you just never would have thought of and you really don't want to see. But anyways, so sadly, because these magicians would be doing shows for children, my parents kind of made me go to those. And the thing is that when you're a child of a magician and it's a children's magic show, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be called on to be a volunteer for whatever magic trick that the magician needs help with. Now, normally that's fine, but not when the magician's really creepy. And nothing was like arranged ahead of time. You know, a lot of people think that when magicians call assistance that it's prearranged. Well, in my case, in my experience, that's never happened. So, I mean, literally nothing can prepare you for being called on by this Norman Bates wannabe, so you just have to like force this smile as you kind of begrudgingly trudge towards the stage thinking, okay, am I like the next victim here, But anyway, I forget if it was after one of those magic shows or if it was a different day, but I remember when I was 4 years old, my parents took me to one of those creepy magicians' houses. Oh man, I'll tell you, it wasn't quite like a Hitchcock film, but it felt like when you entered, it felt like going through the magician's version of the House of Wax. I mean, there were magic tricks and illusions sprawled out everywhere. I mean, they were kind of artistically arranged, so they could have like passed for a museum or something, but still, I mean, really, really a place you would not want to be after dark, we'll put it that way. And so anyway, I had the misfortune of being dragged along. So being the very cautious kid that I was, I sort of planted myself by the front door as my parents sort of walked through this labyrinth of different magic tricks. And I could still see where they were at the other side of the room. But I had to, as I sat down, I was watching in absolute terror and horror as this creepy magician guides my mom into this box, and he throws these latches to latch them shut, and latches 1, latches 2, latches 3, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just grabs these massive blades. I mean, they were, about this wide and even longer, and he proceeds to stick not just 1, but 2 into my mom. I'm going, you have to be kidding me here. And then not just that, my dad is just standing around watching him do it. I'm going, Dad, hello, he's hurting Mom. And this magician then proceeds to slide out her middle, completely detached from her body. I mean, my mom was looking like an unfinished jigsaw puzzle. I mean, this is just not supposed to happen. And, you know, I am just trying at this point to fight back tears, and I was so shocked. I mean, it was like a Tex Avery cartoon. I mean, my jaw could have dropped through a table at that point. And wouldn't you know, at that very moment, they all turn to me and they go, "Hey, Angela, what do you think?" And I'm going, "Mommy, does it hurt?" And my mom thankfully sees the expression on my face, and you know, she reassures me, "No, Angela, I'm fine. It's just a magic trick." And I still wasn't believing it, so they quickly finished the magic trick. And my mom, you know, steps out of the box, and she's just peachy keen. But I will never forget that horror. And I'll tell you, much to my chagrin, my parents actually bought that magic trick. And you know, thinking back, it probably wouldn't have been quite as scary of a magic trick had it not been like a creepy magician performing it, and the really, really creepy surroundings that we happened to be in at the time. But yeah, that was definitely one of the occupational hazards of growing up as a magician.